It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Keefe. Thank you for joining us from all across our community and across the web as well on social media at Civic Center TV 15 on Facebook and across all other platforms on Civic Center TV. It was a big weekend across the greater West Bloomfield area, and the biggest day of the entire weekend was Sunday over at Fire Station number 1. For the annual West Bloomfield Fire Department Open House. So much fun and activities and a lot of learning at the fire station for this annual event commemorating Fire Prevention Week. We sent our reporter Jake Schaff out to learn more and to see all of those demonstrations himself.
It's one of the most anticipated events all throughout the 4 communities. The West Bloomfield Fire Department Open House took place this past weekend, inviting citizens and their families inside to meet the firefighters, check out some cool fire equipment, and to learn about some crucial information to keep you and your loved ones safe.
So this is, probably the 26th fire open house that I've been a part of here in my time at the West Bloomfield Fire Department. And it's an opportunity to underscore that fire is everyone's fight. And it brings the community and some of our community partners together to really talk about fire and fire safety, early detection, and what we do when there's a fire within the home so that everybody gets out and stays out.
And how great is it to see this turnout and to see all these people from the community to come out and support the fire department today?
We love the turnout that comes in, the kids and the adults that come back year after year after year and are part of the annual fire open house.
We have a piece of all the puzzles here. The police has a piece, and it's a nice way to showcase. They have a booth over there, and we're all a team in public safety, and we try to gear it towards kids. Some of the fun activities, the water squirt. Some of the older, the adults like the car cutting demonstrations. So we try to have a piece for everybody, and everyone walks away with a little bit of education and has some fun.
So what's it been like to be a part of this incredible event today?
It's amazing to be a part of it. I encourage all of our new hires to also be a part of this. It's a great way to be engaged in public relations. We are like a family here, a brotherhood and sisterhood, and we want people to see what goes on day to day with us, and it's a good way to really get involved in the community.
These are great memories. We have a lot of photos of the event. The kids love sitting in the fire trucks and ambulances and doing all of the static displays. How to teach my kids fire prevention, fire safety, and what to do in the event that we have any type of dangerous situation in our house.
How important are events like these to the community, would you say?
Well, they're really important, and I would say now more than ever because the people applying for service jobs like firefighting and police has been declining over the years. So it's great to have these events to get the little kids kind of get that, hey, I want to be a fireman one day type of thing in their heads. And the same thing, all the other departments are doing the same thing we're doing. Everyone's having a hard time hiring. So we need to get more people excited about joining service jobs and taking care of people.
Well, we hope that they take away that, again, fire is everyone's fight. And when we have the message about when you hear the beeping sound of a smoke alarm or how to call 911, this quick response is really what's going to make an impact in saving lives and saving property when fire does strike within the communities served by the West Bloomfield Fire Department.
There are smiles everywhere you look here at the open house, and it's also great to know that it's going to help inspire the next generation of firefighters to help protect the 4 communities. A big thank you to the West Bloomfield Fire Department for helping to put this together, and an even bigger thank you for everything they do for West Bloomfield and beyond. For Civic Center TV, I'm Jake Schaff.
Appreciate the report from Jake from the Fire Department Open House. We had plenty more coverage at the Open House live radio throughout the event on Sunday afternoon, and we'll have a lot more of those conversations for you on Civic Center TV and on civiccentertv.com in the coming days. Our coverage from the Fire Department Open House, so many great conversations that I had over at Fire Station number 1 with Chief Flynn, with Byron Turnquist, with Sergeant Blake Belsky, all from the West Bloomfield Fire Department, and and many other vendors. Nicole Papellian, a nurse in their prevention unit at Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital, as well as others from West Bloomfield Parks, from our Cable Commission, and more across the community, all about fire safety, public safety, and keeping yourself and our community as safe as possible during Fire Prevention Week and beyond in our community. Stay tuned for that on Civic Center TV and on our website on civiccentertv.com. And of course, you can always get more helpful information from our friends at the West Bloomfield Township Fire Department by visiting their Facebook page at WB Fire Department, or getting your questions answered by visiting wbtownship.org, navigating through their department's page over the fire, and calling their non-emergency number. Byron Turnquist, the fire marshal, Chief Flynn, of course, also letting me know and letting our team know that they're always open to getting those questions over the phone, answering those questions, and being as helpful as possible, whether it's forming an escape plan or learning hands-only CPR or so many other things that can help save your lives, your loved ones' lives, and others in our community. WB Fire Department on Facebook and WBTownship.org for more information. Over the weekend, too, a scary incident in Rochester Hills, as there was a murder that occurred over the weekend on Friday, as two people who are now suspects in that crime were alleged to be impersonating DTE workers, going door to door when they were encountered. A message from DTE over the weekend after this incident, quote, "If anyone arrives at your home or business saying they are from DTE, please ask to see a badge with photo ID." They did say that whenever they do send a worker out, they will not have them make any contact with the person at the home without showing them their ID or having that readily available to the homeowner. That's the best way you can go about confirming if there is a DTE worker, in fact, at your home. If they knock on your door, ask them to show you their ID, give you their badge number. You can always call DTE Energy and confirm that with them as well, so that you have the information you need to know to understand if this is a legitimate visit or not. That can all be done as well. If the person refused to show their badge, do not let them inside. And of course, the number to call DTE to verify their identity, 800-477-4747. And of course, if you believe that there's some strange behavior going on or there's something suspicious, always better to err on the side of caution and call 911 in the event of those emergencies. Meanwhile, the investigation continues with the Oakland County Sheriff's Office leading the charge. They did provide an update over the weekend late on Sunday saying, quote, "We can't release a lot of information at this point, but we wanted to communicate that in conjunction with our great partners, we have suspect number one in custody in Shreveport, Louisiana, and they continue to encourage the second suspect to turn themselves in because, quote, one way or another, we will find you." End quote. More information can be found on this through the Oakland County Sheriff's Department's Facebook page for updates at OCSO Michigan. That's the place to go for updates on the investigation as that continues forward. On a much more positive note, close to home, a look back into Sylvan Lake's history is coming up on Tuesday night at the Sylvan Lake Community Center. Over the recent years, we've partnered with Sylvan Lake historian Helen Jane Peters right there at that location on your screen on civiccentertv.com, the Sylvan Lake Community Center, where she has told pieces of what's known as the Sylvan story, looking back at critical points in the history of the prettiest little city in Michigan and giving you the latest that you need to know on how the city began and how it's grown over 100+ years into the close-knit, friendly community that it is today. A 6th edition of the program is coming up this week as they look back on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock at an iconic nursery rhyme that led to an iconic painting in a once iconic location in Sylvan Lake at the Daniel Whitfield School on Orchard Lake Road and Middle Belt in Sylvan Lake. You'll have an opportunity to learn about the history of that painting. It's standing at the Whitfield School in Sylvan Lake over its long-time run as their primary school in that community. How it was ultimately saved in 1991 from being destroyed by a Whitfield teacher, the teacher who will in fact actually be at this presentation on Tuesday. Plus, you'll get to talk to the artist's family, Roy Gamble, who painted this painting way back in the day. His family will be there with additional works from this artist on display. It's a 6:30 p.m. social time. Get to talk a little bit with the community, get to see some of these paintings, learn a little bit more, and a great time to meet up with the community at the Sylvan Lake Community Center before Helen Jane's presentation begins at 7 o'clock. Now, we know you have a busy schedule, so if you can't make it to this presentation of the Sylvan story, we will have that for you later on this week as well. We will be recording that and having it for you for broadcast on Civic Center TV, on Lakes FM, and of course on our website on civiccentertv.com as well. We encourage you to stay with us, learn more about the city of Sylvan Lake as they embark on another trip down memory lane through their storied history in the prettiest little city in Michigan. If you want to help out in our community with one of our great community organizations that's supporting our West Bloomfield Township Public Library, you have a chance to do that while patronizing one of our local bookstores. Schuler Books this week is going to be providing 20% of their proceeds to the Friends of the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. If you mention the Friends of the Library at your checkout, when you check out books or other materials, 20% of that purchase will then go as a donation to the Friends of the West Bloomfield Township Public Library, which helps to, of course, operate the Friends Shop out of the library. Many of these great events like Music at Maine that are happening this time of year at the Maine Library and others at the West Acres branch. It's a great time to go find that next great read. They'll get you through the rest of the year while helping to support your local library. It's happening now through Saturday of this week, so now through October 19th. And you can also do this through online purchases. If you're not going to your local Schuler Books location on Orchard Lake Road in West Bloomfield, online purchases, you just simply put in the promo code in all caps, WB Library, and you'll get that 20% of those proceeds going forward to the Friends of the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. For more information on this, a couple different places. Facebook at Schuler Books. You can also learn more about this on Facebook at West Bloom LIB. And of course, look for those books and make those purchases with the promo code WB Library to support the Friends on SchulerBooks.com. Late last week, it was Laker football as always, but a little bit earlier than normal. The Lakers having played on Thursday night against the Oxford Wildcats in what was unfortunately a blowout loss for the Lakers as they ended the OAA regular season in the red, and they continue with 2 more games going forward. Joining me for more analysis on that very lopsided game, not in the Lakers' favor on senior night, is our color commentator for our live coverage of Laker football, Matt Catoni, joining me on the program. And while it was a really excellent game across the board for the Wildcats in all 3 phases, Matt, really the bulk of the playmaking centered around one guy, and that was Luke Johnson.
Yeah, it was really more of a senior nightmare last night. The way that Oxford was able to push around Bloomfield at the line of scrimmage, really both sides of the ball. But Luke Johnson especially shined last night. And really, from what you were saying throughout the game, just about his personal makeup and his skill on the field, you can just tell that he's going to be a successful player going forward.
Yeah, he's a fantastic player who had 3 touchdowns in that game last night against West Bloomfield. 2 in the first half and 1 late in the game later on to really seal the deal for the Oxford Wildcats. And, you know, it was an interesting game because it started off seeming like Oxford really had the pulse on the Laker defensive front in the running game and were able to execute their game plan, march up the field, get a quick score. But then West Bloomfield came back and answered. But from there is where it really was the turning point as Oxford continued to execute and West Bloomfield seemed to struggle to do the same.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes down to the experience that Oxford had on their both fronts on offense and defense, especially that offensive line having 4 seniors to rely on that front and, you know, a bit of an inexperienced and younger defensive front for the Lakers. So I feel like, you know, kind of similar to what we saw in that Birmingham Groves game where the Lakers just kind of got overpowered up front because they were playing one of the best offensive lines that arguably we will see all season and in the state.
Yeah, the youngest player on that offensive line was actually their blindside tackle on the left side of that line, a sophomore. Everybody else a senior, and really was able to open up that offense for Luke Johnson and even for Jack Hendricks to have a few chances in the pocket to get those footballs to Owen Pavlock and to Eli Carpenter. Jake Champagne had a late touchdown. Alex Barrett had a touchdown off of a screen pass on a short out route early on in the game as well. We really saw an impressive showing from an Oxford team that's been growing over these years, waiting to get to that point where they take their power move forward in the OAA Red Division. And I really think last night was that power move forward to show that they are in the driver's seat of this conference.
Yeah, and really it was a huge win for them to clinch a title for the OAA Red, and really not just clinch that, but also, kind of shove it in West Bloomfield's face a little bit, as much as I hate to say it. But winning it there has to feel that much sweeter for Oxford. Knowing West Bloomfield, where they're at as a program, is ultimately where Oxford wants to get back to. It's, a very sweet moment for them, and kind of a moment for West Bloomfield where they have to look at themselves going forward these next 2 weeks. And,
it's now a
kind of have to
reversal of
realize
roles.
where they want to be as a team and what they have to do.
Yeah, definitely. It's a reversal of roles between these two teams, where in the past it's been clear that West Bloomfield's been the power and Oxford's been the team that's got the promise but doesn't quite have it clicking just yet. That's what it seemed like for the Lakers last night as they struggled. They had some issues with penalties, of course. You could also see some mistakes like that botched punt in their end zone that set up a really quick drive and a score for the Oxford Wildcats early on in that matchup. It seemed like the Lakers got a little bit out of sync, a little bit out of sorts, and the penalty bug really affected them last night. How might that ultimately be something that could be the decision maker in whether they continue to have any success in the regular season and set themselves up well for playoff time?
Yeah, and really penalties are the one thing that you can't have when you're in the position the Lakers are, because it can set you behind the sticks and really cost you games like we saw yesterday. At one point, the Lakers have the ball. It's a tie game. They have a chance to go up 14-7. They're moving the ball well on offense. We see a touchdown get wiped off the board. We see a few big plays even get wiped off the board after that, and they end up having to punt the ball. And next thing you know, Oxford takes the lead, and West Bloomfield's playing from behind the rest of the game. So really, it's those penalties that kill drives and also extend drives that they have to try and eliminate.
It seemed like the penalties last night were something we saw more than those big plays from the Lakers. Really, for the first time this season, they've had games where they've had a little bit of the penalty bug that they've been able to get out beyond that, ultimately adjust and improve that discipline. We saw in the last couple of weeks too, both against Clarkston and that loss on the road, but especially last week against Lake Orion in that 49-41 victory. They played a really, really clean game. So looking forward for these Lakers, a couple of weeks left in the regular season. They're going up against Birmingham Seaholm next week, Friday, on October 18th. And this is where we start to see maybe what the Lakers are truly going to be as they get toward playoff time, because while we've seen in the past they've been able to play a really clean game and compete with some of the best in the state, like the Lake Orion Dragons, and even keeping things close for about 3/4 of the way and a little bit beyond that against a team like Clarkston. If they play clean, they have a really good chance against these 5-1 Maples.
Yeah, and really playing two of the best teams in Division II these upcoming weeks in Birmingham, Seaholm, and Roseville. It's going to be up to the Lakers, see where they measure up against the rest of the state. We've seen Hilbers talk about before how being in the OAA Red, it's going to be a battle week in and week out, and sometimes you're not necessarily going to be able to tell where you stand in the state just because of how good your division is. So now it's up to the Lakers. They've had some tough losses, all really to top 15, top 10 teams in the state, arguably. It's going to be up to them to go forward, forget that these next 2 weeks, and just try and compete and play good football and show where they stand in the state still.
Yeah, Seaholm also trying to have something to prove in this upcoming game against West Bloomfield. They could pick up a lot of playoff points off of West Bloomfield's quality win against Lake Orion and lopsided victories against Chippewa Valley and Southfield A&T, given the strength of that schedule from West Bloomfield, and coming off of a loss of their own, a heartbreaking 23-24 loss on the road at North Farmington on Thursday night. Same night as West Bloomfield played, makes them now 6-1 and ruins their undefeated season as they go in to their senior night next week in Birmingham. And for West Bloomfield, they got 2 weeks left against two very good teams, the 6-1 Birmingham Groves Maples coming up next week in Birmingham. Then they'll finish the season off 2 weeks from now on the road at Roseville, a team that's coming into their game this evening 4-2, going up against L'Anse Creuse out of Harrison Township, another game that could have big implications. So the Lakers have a ton to play for over the next couple of weeks that could set them up still for really good playoff positioning. But more than anything else, Matt, this is about momentum. This is about understanding what needs to be done to win critical games against really good teams, because this is the time of the year where those mistakes like you saw on Thursday against the Oxford Wildcats, they don't just end the game, they could end your season.
Yeah, and especially on the road, those mistakes get magnified as they feed into that crowd atmosphere. And especially at a place like Roseville that's been a good football atmosphere the past several years, new stadium. It's going to be interesting to see how, if they have a few mistakes, if they bury their head in the sand, or if they come back and, like we've seen them against Lake Orion, just come out firing and forget about those mistakes.
We will keep you updated on our coverage for next week's game between the West Bloomfield Lakers and the Maples of Birmingham Seaholm, as that game will be covered by the Prep. We've been informed that they will be streaming that game next week. We'll do our best to have our radio coverage, possibly TV coverage as well, and keep you updated on that on civiccentertv.com/LakersSports, where you can watch all of our coverage from these live football broadcasts all throughout the season, and catch my conversation with Zach Hilbers on This Week in Laker Football early on in the week leading up to that Seaholm game. Matt, your lasting thoughts from that Oxford matchup and what the Lakers need to improve on, or what we need to see in the coming weeks to make them, again, contenders in the state of Michigan?
They need to establish the run first and foremost. That's really the most important thing for the Lakers. We saw that opening drive, Josh Tate really dominate, and then Oxford make it a point to stop him the rest of the game. We saw West Bloomfield really struggle to pick up first downs after that. And they just opted to pass more often than not, even though there were times where they were still able to move it with Tate and Shakespeare running it, but they felt that they needed to pass. If they can get out and just establish the run these next 2 weeks, I feel they'll put themselves in good position to win.
As we saw from Oxford's performance last night, you establish a run, you dominate in the rushing game. It sets up your passing game. The difference for West Bloomfield is they've got Bo Jackson playing some of the best football of his high school career, getting those footballs to his top receivers, and if they're able to make plays, Cam Flowers, Elijah Durham, Jaden Allos has been very big over the last few weeks for the Lakers in the receiving game. They've got a powerful offense and a defense that's been able to really shut down the game in the air throughout this season, and has had signs of brilliance in that front seven as well in recent weeks. Matt, thank you so much as always for your time.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Always glad to talk about Laker football with Matt Catoni, both before and after those games as well, on our live broadcasts on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM all throughout the season, all of which are available for you on civiccentertv.com/LakerSports, and of course here on the Splash Live on the Monday after each and every Laker football matchup all throughout the season, both regular season and hopefully some playoff action coming up very soon, as the Lakers currently are in the mix. These next couple weeks going to be huge for them, coming off of that 38-14 loss at home against Oxford last week. They've only lost 2 in a row early on in the season against Groves and Rochester Adams. They learned something from both of those losses and were able to pick them up and bring them into the next week. They're going to need that, as Seaholm took a close loss last week on the road at North Farmington, one of the top 10 teams in Division II. That could be a big one for the Lakers on Friday night, 7 o'clock kickoff at Seaholm. We'll keep you updated throughout the week on our coverage, and of course you'll see Coach Zach Hilbers and I early on This Week in Laker football. We are just a couple of weeks away from Halloween, and while Halloween falls on October 31st for most of everybody in Keego Harbor, they're changing the date in 2024 to Saturday, October 26th at Rose Sorter Park, where they will celebrate Keego Harbor, a Halloween special event for the entire community from noon until 2 p.m. Plenty of fun is on the docket for this Halloween spooktacular, and joining us for more information on all the fun is Julie O'Brien, the co-chair of this event from Keego Harbor Parks and Recreation. Julie, thanks for being with us.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to have you on for this Halloween celebration. We know Keego loves to get together and put things together that are great for families, but also something that includes the entire community. Give us the lowdown of what Keego Harbor is going to be all about on October 26th.
All right, so Keego Harbor is a free to attend community event happening Saturday, October 26th from noon to 2, like you mentioned. It is made possible by the Keego Harbor Parks and Recreation Commission and many of our wonderful businesses. As this is our first year hosting this event, we focused on creating a kid-friendly, fun afternoon full of Halloween activities. Um, it has been inspiring to see how much the local businesses want to be a part of this event and give back to the community in a fun and interactive way. And we've already seen so much community support, so we do intend on making this an annual tradition and progressively building on this to offer more events and activities for residents of all ages, even though this one is more kid and family focused.
Yeah, this often is the case with Halloween, but this kind of plays into what we've seen grow over the summers in Keego Harbor, where you have so many events all throughout the summer for the kids, for the families, for people of all different ages. And now we're seeing Keego Harbor Parks and Recreation start to make that move to really incorporate that sort of spirit in the fall. So now, when did the conversation on making a Halloween event begin, and how did all this come together?
So it started in the spring when we were planning the block parties, and the community just loves the live performances so much. And it's always heartbreaking when the block party season ends. So we really wanted to incorporate some sort of new fall tradition where we can have fun and laughter and live music. So we only announced this event early this month. So it's a very fresh event.
It is, and like you said, you just announced it in the recent weeks here in Keego Harbor, but already a ton of excitement from sponsorships from local businesses, and I've seen the comments on your Facebook page at KH Parks. There's a lot of excitement behind people wanting to bring the family out to this event. So how has that response factored into A, your continued planning for October 26th of this year, and B, factoring in making this a regular new tradition in the heart of the lakes?
Well, that type of outpouring support and excitement from the community is what keeps us doing these events. Even a lot of our residents don't know that the Keego Harbor Parks and Recreation Commission is entirely volunteers.
Yeah.
We all have families and careers that we're working with full time, and but the community support and excitement, I mean, it's a joy, and it makes us all very excited to put on events like this.
Julie O'Brien is with us from Keego Harbor Parks and Recreation. They're co-chair for Keego Harbor, coming up on October 26th. That is a Saturday in Keego Harbor, just 5 days before the Halloween celebration. On its formal day, it will be celebrated specifically for those in the city of Keego Harbor and their friendly neighbors as well. And you talked about it, you just mentioned it. It's entirely this group in Keego Harbor. Your committee is entirely of volunteers who work all throughout the year to provide fun and activities and camaraderie for the community through these events. As someone who is part of that volunteer community and part of the greater community, how has the nature of how Keego Harbor interacts with others in Keego Harbor helped to inspire you to lead this event and try something new for the people of Keego?
Well, it's hard to say no to something this fun. We've got a special performance by the Ultraviolet, which is a talented band of local students who will be performing at the event. Through the support of the local businesses, we're able to provide pumpkins to give away with a pumpkin sticker decorating station. We'll have a trick-or-treat trail with businesses set up along the path around the pond, giving out treats to all of our costumed kids. And as always, the West Bloomfield Library has generously partnered with us again to provide some take-home crafts. And I mean, it's just going to be so much fun. We've got a haunted tunnel, we've got cider and donut, temporary tattoos. It's going to be a howling good time.
Yeah, if I were a kid looking for some fun to have in the community to celebrate Halloween, and I had to choose between going door to door on a cold evening, not knowing what I'm going to get as far as candy collection or something fun like this, I'd be saying, Mom, Dad, let's go out to Rose Sorter Park and have fun with our neighbors in Keego Harbor on October 26th. It sounds like something that's really great. And you mentioned bringing in the West Bloomfield Township Public Library for some special activities on top of that earlier on, of course. You mentioned the outpouring of support from the local business community. How does partnership factor into being able to not only put these events together from your volunteer standpoint, but make them interesting and make them uniquely fun for the people of Keego Harbor?
Well, the businesses have been so excited to be a part of this, and the idea that they're able to participate with the community in an interactive way, and get that face time with residents who maybe haven't had the privilege of stopping into those businesses yet. You know, it's a wonderful way to connect everybody together. So.
And whether it's some of the staples of the community that have been businesses that are established over the years or over the decades even, or it's some of the newer businesses that are just getting into the community, it's a great way for them also to interact with Keego Harbor Parks and Recreation, meet the people, meet the families, because it really is such a close-knit community. You go to these events, and it is one of those rare opportunities where you can see everybody knows each other. Everybody is looking out for one another, and when one of you is having fun, all of you is having fun. How does that make it even more special for you as a volunteer, being able to establish those opportunities for your neighbors?
Well, I mean, from a personal experience, I've only been a Keego Harbor resident for about 3 years, and I've already made some of the best friends of my life. The people who live here are just so supportive and so fun. It is a really great community.
It is, and they have a really fun event coming up on October 26th, Keego Harbor at Rose Sorter Park. That is just behind Keego Harbor City Hall in the city of Keego Harbor. Plenty of more information can be found on this on facebook.com/KHParks, where you'll also find plenty of ways to get involved. And Julie, I want to talk about that just quickly before we let you go today. If people want to get involved, this is something that maybe inspires them and their volunteer spirit. They want to be part of this fun. What steps should they take to maybe join your team for some other fun this fall?
Well, we have several alternate chairs available on the commission. You are all welcome to sign up and apply to join our commission that way, or in a event-to-event basis. We've got volunteer forms, and we're always looking for help.
They also meet monthly at the Keego Harbor City Hall on Wednesday nights, so you can find that also on KeegoHarbor.org. And of course, if you want to apply for some positions with Keego Harbor Parks and Rec and join that commission, join their committee as they discuss these different topics and put these events together all throughout the year, whether it's the special Halloween event or the Memorial Day parades or everything else in between. It's all on KeegoHarbor.org. Julie, before we let you go, anything else people should know about this Halloween spooktacular happening in Keego Harbor?
Just dust off those costumes and can't wait to see ya.
Can't wait to see the pictures, too, of all the creative costumes from across the heart of the lakes on Saturday, October 26th. Julie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Again, the event Saturday, October 26th at Keego Harbor City Hall's Rose Sorter Park, just behind City Hall. You'll find the gazebo, and you'll know you're in the right place when you see all the spooky costumes and decorations for Halloween out there. And in the meantime, you can learn more about the event and reserve your spot for free and let the team over at Keego Harbor Parks and Rec know you're excited for this spooky, fun event on Facebook at KH Parks. Great place to go, great event coming up, and a lot of fun in the heart of the lakes. And it's all for the kids as well, which makes it that much more special to celebrate as a family and as a community. Now, also for the kids, later on this week, and helpful information for parents as well as you plan your busy week, West Bloomfield Schools is planning to start their day a little bit later on this week. Wednesday, October 16th, is a late start day all across the West Bloomfield School District. This will impact especially those morning bus routes. Early bus stops will be exactly 1 hour later on those late start mornings than usual, and students will be dismissed, however, at their regular time. So everything else about your day in terms of your student pickup and drop-off is going to be pretty much the same, except the morning portion of that's going to be moved forward 1 hour. A little bit of extra rest, a little bit of extra study time for your kids from Tuesday into Wednesday. And for more information on their late start calendar, you can find that on wbsd.org/calendar, where they have all their events from throughout the year, all their late start days or half days, holidays that affect your calendar. wbsd.org/calendar. You can follow them on Facebook at West Bloomfield Schools. And of course, we'll keep you updated right here on the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. From a special day later on this week with a late start in the school district to a special anniversary being celebrated this weekend in our community as well. On Saturday, October 19th, Height Photo will celebrate a very special anniversary, 100 years of service in our community. The celebration will be taking place at their West Bloomfield location on Orchard Lake Road from noon until 4 p.m. Now, previously on the program, we were able to celebrate this anniversary a little bit in advance. The owner of Height Photo, Tom Height, joined us on a previous edition of the Splash Live, where he emphasized that while technological changes have, of course, changed the game in the photography business, and especially in the photo processing side of the business, technology has actually been really helpful in continuing keeping that business alive for these 100 years. Here's what he had to say.
Everyone that's my age probably remembers back in the 80s and 90s when you shot film and you had to, drop it off and wait. And then 1 hour photo came out and wow, I can get it in an hour and like all those things. It was kind of fun because you had to wait to see what you got. But now, of course, everybody's just shooting on their phone and you get instant gratification. And people are sharing them differently and stuff like that. But printing is still something that's being done. People don't print out, every single thing they shoot, of course, because we shoot tons of stuff. But they do want to do something cool with like that one shot of the summer or the best shot of the trip or something like that.
And customers want something cool to have with those photos that maybe are of their special moments or are something cool that they've seen from an artist that they love. And at Height Photo, Tom Height, their owner, also said that over the years he's been able to help local artists provide their product to customers throughout our community and beyond in a variety of different ways by using some of these new technologies and advancements that have grown up over the years.
Well, artists, it's a great thing, fun thing about this job. We get to see people's art because they'll bring it in. They don't want to sell their piece that they've spent 3 months or 4 months or longer on making. So we digitize that piece so they have a digital file of it. And then they can output it on anything they want. They can output it on watercolor paper again or canvas or, whatever they want and sell the, copies and keep their original. So we have a lot of artists that come in with their artwork. We do what's called a digital copy negative. We actually shoot it in our studio with the lights at a 45-degree angle so you don't get any glare. And then you get an extremely high-resolution digital file of your work.
Oh, the great way to help artists in our community. So many of them. We think about Art Sale out of Keego Harbor and the Tri-Cities, which also includes members from West Bloomfield and neighboring Lakes area communities, and so many others who do photography as a hobby or maybe are building that as a side hustle or a new career venture for themselves and businesses in our community like Height Photo. Celebrating 100 years are playing a part in helping them as well. You can thank them for their help playing a part in the role of our artists and congratulate them on celebrating 100 years of their service to our community. Again, their celebration will be on Saturday, October 19th at their location in West Bloomfield, noon to 4 p.m. That's on the boulevard on Orchard Lake Road in the same complex as Crispelli's. It's just right down the street from the Jack's Car Wash on Orchard Lake Road as well, kind of setting the scene for where you're going to be looking for Height Photo. And plenty of opportunities for some fun prizes as well. They'll be celebrating 100 years and giving away a $100 film bundle, custom ornaments, cards, and so many more, including free developing and scanning for a year. So plenty to win as you celebrate a business and their big anniversary in our community. In the meantime, get more information on their Facebook page at Height Photo. That's H-I-T-E Photo on Facebook. Even bigger news from right next door in West Bloomfield Township, as last week, the township was officially informed by Standard & Poor's that they will be maintaining their AAA bond rating. Now, look, for the average Joe in our community, maybe that doesn't sound like the biggest headline that jumps right off the page, but it plays a really important role financially in what the township's able to do to provide services to you and yours across our community. Joining me for more information on how this process all came together and the big news with this AAA bond rating being maintained by Standard & Poor's is West Bloomfield Township Clerk Debbie Binder and Treasurer Terry Weingarten. Thank you both for being with us. Terry, I want to begin with you because this ultimately comes down to finances. That's in your purview over at Town Hall. How does this bond rating, staying at AAA, ultimately benefit West Bloomfield from a financial standpoint?
So it already is benefiting West Bloomfield. So as you indicated, we had a bond for the Parks and Recreation, for a recreation center, and it passed overwhelmingly, and it's a $25 million bond. And because we maintained our AAA rating, we received numerous bids. So what happens is basically an open competitive bid process. And usually a community will get 3 or 4, maybe 5 bids, and we received 12 bids, which meant they were really sharpening their pencils to give us a good interest rate for this bond issuance. And we got a very, very competitive interest rate, which saves money. So it's very important to have the AAA bond rating. And it means that when they see that there's a bond issuance, they want to bid. They want to buy West Bloomfield bonds. They know that they're a safe investment, and it gets a lot more interest, which means lower costs. So it's already benefiting the township, and it will continue to benefit the township. Just really proud of what our team accomplished. Thank you so much, Clerk Debbie Binder and finance staff and assessing and PFM and legal counsel. You know, it's like a dream team getting it done.
As usual, it's a team effort going into this sort of township business that keeps you in good standing financially and otherwise as you pursue these projects going forward. And Debbie, just speak to that team effort and how that plays into maintaining these programs and these systems, and really with this AAA bond rating, the reputation of West Bloomfield as a government, as an entity, and of course, as a community.
Again, it speaks to the credibility of the township and the desirability of the township from an investor's perspective. So anytime a project comes forward, or really just as a matter of almost any government operation, they look at you as a very safe investment. They look at you as a well-run community. It's something that decisions we make as a board every day contribute to the not only the solvency, but the excellence of the community. So it's something that, you know, every time you go out for a bond, you open your credit rating up for a review. They do have a normal review period, but there is a review every single time you're looking to borrow money. So you always have to, you know, put your best foot forward and point out the attributes of your community that make you unique, and kind of do a PR presentation, but you also have to have the numbers that support that. It's not all PR, because S&P is looking at your performance and your numbers, your fund balance, a lot of different things to make that decision. And I believe there are only 12 municipalities in Michigan that have this credit rating. You know, to achieve that with Standard & Poor's Global is huge. And like Terry had mentioned, it is a team effort. And you had asked, it is a team effort. We require the information from assessing. We require the support of our professional support services. We have a bond council, and we have a bond coordination team. And they guide you through that process as you're getting evaluated. So the outcome, obviously, as Terry had mentioned, has been outstanding. To have 12 people bidding on us and finding us an important, investment and a reliable investment led to us being able to get those favorable terms in a market where terms are not always as favorable. So it was really exciting. And if you recall, a few years ago when we elevated to that AAA rating from a AA plus, we were ecstatic because we knew the level of I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Terry, do you have a word for me? But the level of of credibility that it did give to the township. Again, it's not something you get lightly. That you go through a very exhaustive process to have that credit review, and at the end of it, You have a couple of days waiting for that report to come in, and we were ecstatic when it came through that it was affirmed that we were still a AAA community.
And Terry, from the outside looking in, we don't understand what sort of work goes into going for a AAA bond rating, getting that AAA bond rating, and then maintaining it. As Debbie said, it's an exhaustive process to make that happen. Can you give us some insight on what has to be undertaken by our local governments to even pursue that sort of a bond rating?
Sure. Well, first of all, prudence, financial stability, being fiduciaries on a consistent basis, good staff, showing that people want to work here and that people in the community want to live here. Just some of the data, some of our census data, and just sharing with them a lot of our financial information. So basically, the township has been very, very fiscally responsible. We've been good in down years and when the economy's been really well, and we've always planned ahead. We've always budgeted conservatively and made sure that we have the money if we have some bumps in the road. And they look at that. They look at like your overtime consistent policies that are making you fiscally strong on a consistent basis. So it was a lot of work to prepare for it because you have to pull all sorts of data. And as I mentioned, our budget and finance and assessing staff provided a lot of the detailed reports we have, but just, the consistent good decisions of the board and the pension board to make us a strong community is really what's important because they do look at your long-term track record, really, to make sure that this isn't like a community that saves their money, spends it all, and then when there's a downturn, they're not prepared. And that is not West Bloomfield. We're always prepared.
And Debbie, lastly, as we go to you, we're running a little bit short on time, so I want to wrap up by asking, you're seeing the results immediately with the West Bloomfield Parks bond, and maybe that's something similar to what you saw with the upgrade from AA+ to AAA, but were you surprised to see those results so emphatically in favor of the township as they didn't upgrade this time to AAA, but maintained that bond rating in this current evaluation?
Once we knew we maintained it, I think we knew that we were in good shape because, again, we joined a group of 12 people in the entire, maybe it's 13 now, in the entire state. So once you've reached that AAA rating, you are looked favorably upon by the investors. So I don't know that we were surprised by the response based on maintaining that. The concern was making sure that we did maintain that. One of the things that does help us is, as a more residential community, our tax base is a little more stable than perhaps someplace where businesses are coming and going. And that, definitely does help. And one of the things I would add, Terry got into the long range, is we do a lot of long range planning, and that's something they look at too. And an example would be our fire department plans out what the life cycle of vehicles and when we're going to need. So we need to replace them, so that there's a plan in place. And when they see that kind of planning, again, it reflects favorably upon the township and gives them more confidence to give us that great rating, and that rating gives the investors more confidence. So I think as long as we maintain that AAA, we're going to see the response to any kind of borrowing we need to do and the debt we need to take on. So it is obviously we are taking on more debt, but it is a point of pride that investors look at us as such a safe bet to invest in.
Maybe not a story that jumps off the page when you look at the headline, but does have a big impact on your community for residents of West Bloomfield. Debbie, Terry, thank you so much for your time today and congratulations.
Thank you, Tyler, very much.
Glad to have both of you on. Big news out of West Bloomfield already affecting their going out for bonds for the Parks and Recreation Commission's bond proposal for the Recreation Activity Center that was approved by voters earlier on this year. Helps them get those better bids, make better financial decisions for the township for years to come going forward. Congratulations to the entire team over at Town Hall. On a different topic, it's something that affects women all across our community and beyond. Menopause is the subject today, as we are recognizing World Menopause Month throughout the month of October. And somebody that is right here in our community helping provide some of these services that affect those affected by menopause is Dr. Robert Goldfarb, an OBGYN in the Henry Ford Medical Group, which includes, of course, Henry Ford, West Bloomfield Hospital. He had a chance to talk about how menopause affects people in our community and how people should pursue some of those medical treatments that may help them through that natural process. He joined Kevin McIntosh from our team for that discussion.
Did you know October is World Menopause Month? It's observed every October, raises awareness about menopause and the support women need during this natural stage of life. And join us right here live on The Splash to give that professional perspective on menopause. We have staff physician, board certified OBGYN, and certified menopause practitioner by the Menopause Society, Dr. Robert Goldfarb. Thank you for being here, doctor.
Thank you for having me.
So we're talking about a natural stage of life for most women that they encounter, but I want to kind of just talk about the evolution of it. How has the medical understanding of menopause evolved over the years?
Well, I think first of all, I think the understanding is people are more willing to talk about it than they probably were in the past. And there's more options for helping people than there used to be. Used to be the only option to really help people through menopause who had a lot of menopause symptoms was estrogen. And there are people who don't want to or should not take estrogen. So we have a variety of other medications, lifestyle changes, things like that. And so you can help people. Normally, you can deal with their symptoms and make their symptoms better. I mean, unfortunately, we're all going to age. We can't do much about that. So it's important to eat healthy, not smoke, alcohol in moderation, exercise, that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, and we all be fortunate enough to get older to experience things like this natural stage of life and things of that nature. But like I said, it affects women at a certain age of life in most cases, and it's just something that we all try to help them deal with. Now, I want to kind of scale it back a little bit before I dig a little bit deeper into this. Let's just talk about, since I have you here, doctor, what is menopause?
Well, the absolute definition of menopause is cessation of your menstrual period for 1 year. That's the hard, fast definition.
Okay.
Normally during that time, which occurs usually in the early 50s, 51 to 52, is the average age. People's periods stop. Sometimes they get dragged out longer apart, then eventually they stop. So during all this process, you're perimenopausal, and then after you've not had your cycle for a year, you fit the definition of menopausal.
Interesting. Okay, thank you for breaking that down. I felt like that was important to kind of get as far as, before we actually continue, just for anyone listening or watching who just want to get educated on that aspect of it. Now, with that being said, doctor, I'm pretty sure a lot of your patients come to you with questions, just probably people just in a natural conversation may ask you, but overall, what are some common misconceptions about menopause that you may hear that we want to debunk now?
Common misconceptions. Common misconceptions are everybody has to go on hormones. Common misconceptions are that people are going to stop having sex.
Oh.
And I think that some people just kind of go into it thinking it's going to be, very difficult, very miserable, worst time in their lives. And for most people go through this fairly unscathed.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I could only imagine, like I said, being a male and being in my 30s, I have no idea. But having a mother, an aunt, a grandmother, I know, like we said, we all know someone who may have been affected by menopause or going through menopause. But joining us right here live on The Splash, staff physician for Henry Ford Medical Group and certified menopause practitioner by the Menopause Society, Dr. Robert Goldfarb, talking about World Menopause Month being in October specifically. Now, we know that there are some challenges that women face during menopause, like we just kind of went over. Can you just talk about what you kind of recommend to manage those challenges?
Well, there are challenges of, people who have what we call vasomotor symptoms or hot flashes. And when you have hot flashes and you're sweating at night, it's difficult to sleep. So you get sleep disturbances. Some people report mood swings and things like that. The other thing with menopause is bone loss increases, so higher risk of osteoporosis. So you have to be on the lookout for that. In terms of treating people, there's medications you can use for hot flash symptoms. Mostly we like to use hormonal therapy, but there are non-hormonal therapies that are available that work well, although I don't think as well, for those people who do not want to or cannot take estrogen. The other thing is sometimes estrogen will help people with a variety of symptoms, the hot flashes, so they sleep. Some people feel a little brain fog. Maybe that's caused by sleep deprivation,
Okay.
etc. So everybody's a little bit different, and everybody's going to react to medication differently.
Correct.
If we're just trying to control hot flashes, sometimes there are medications such as some of the antidepressants. There's a nerve pain medication called gabapentin you can use. There's another medication called ditropan, which is a bladder medication that's used for that. So we have a variety of ways to help people with their symptoms.
Yeah. I'm learning a lot right here just listening to you, doctor, and I appreciate that too. But something that you mentioned I want to kind of go back to, the hormone replacement therapy. Can you explain both sides of the coin when it comes to that, the benefits and the risks when it comes to using HRT for managing menopause symptoms?
Sure. The benefits are, well, first and foremost, you're probably going to knock out your menopause symptoms. So that's a good thing.
Okay.
If you're having vaginal dryness and discomfort during intercourse, it's probably going to help with that. So those are the big issues. Some of the minor things of menopause, it may help. Some people say it makes their skin better. It definitely helps to prevent against osteoporosis or bone loss. What's the downside? Well, the downside is it's a medication you have to take, and it's probably only going to be effective for as long as you take it. That's the first thing.
Right.
Second thing is second thing is side effects from the medication. And what I mean by side effects is people may have vaginal bleeding, some people get bloating, some people get abdominal cramping, breast tenderness. These are not huge numbers, but it definitely does happen. And the statistics show that most people who are started on hormone therapy won't be on it a year later. They will self-discontinue.
Oh.
Great conversation between Kevin McIntosh from our team and Dr. Goldfarb from Henry Ford Medical Group, including Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital. This is a topic that's very important to women in our community and beyond, and something that, much like my recent conversation with Paula Tutman about her product, the Braless Bra, it's around a subject matter that tends to be kind of skirted around by the community. It's something that's maybe uncomfortable to talk about, but it's really important to have those conversations with the women of a certain age in your life who may be experiencing these symptoms so that they can get the help that they need to go through this natural process and go through this natural change and have the information and the resources that are available right here in our community to help them through that, make it as painless as possible for them as they experience a lot of these changes. If you want to see that full conversation, it was a special edition of the Splash Live that we pre-recorded between Kevin McIntosh and Dr. Goldfarb. It is available right now as we speak, civiccentertv.com. On our website, you can also find it on our YouTube page as well at Civic Center TV, where you'll find all of our programming, including some special programming we did recently with the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce. Hey, look, maybe you're filling out your ballots. We did a lot of programming recently with the League of Women Voters Oakland area as you make your decisions on the West Bloomfield Library Board, West Bloomfield School District, Board of Education positions, and so much more. We got a lot coming up this week with the history of Sylvan Lake and Helen Jane Peters, and so much more great programming like our Fire Department Open House extended coverage as well. So stay tuned with us on Civic Center TV 15 on Facebook and on YouTube at Civic Center TV 15. Big thank you to our entire team, our crew at Master Control, Kevin McIntosh and Calvin Brown, alongside Jake Schaff out in the field. For our entire team, I'm Tyler Keefe, thanking you for tuning in to the Splash Live.